Welcome to Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Dr. RC will empower, encourage, and strengthen you. She will help you to soar to your highest potential while instilling hope. Please welcome the host of Dare to Soar, Dr. RC.
I want you to picture a classroom anywhere in the world. Desks lined up in rows, backpacks resting on the floor and lockers, a clock quietly ticking toward the next bell. This is a place meant for curiosity, a place meant for growth, a place meant to feel safe. Now imagine that same classroom where a child is not listening for instructions, but for reassurance. Not worried about test scores, but about loss. Not wondering what comes next in the lesson, but who might be missing when the day is finally ending. Imagine trying to learn while your body is braced for goodbye. Imagine being expected just to focus while your heart is preparing for separation. This is not a story meant to shock you, and this is not a political statement either. And this is not happening somewhere else. This is about what's happening to learning right now, today. When fear walks in before the bell rings, quietly, consistently, and without warning, this is when fear walks into the classroom while we're working and facing education in an age of uncertainty. And this is where our conversation will start today or this morning. And once we name it, we can't look away from it. Good Saturday morning, everyone. I am Dr. RC, and yes, this is Dare to Soar. This morning's topic is when fear walks into the classroom. That's the big headliner, and the caveat is in education in an age of uncertainty. And I'm going to get to that portion of it more as we go in depth in our conversation for this morning. But I want to dig in. But I want to just say, let me roll back for a moment and thank each and every one of you for tuning in this morning for this conversation. It is going to be a conversation that I consider to be a powerful conversation. I want you all to listen deeply as I go inside classrooms, homes, and communities to explore how fear, uncertainty, and loss quietly shape the educational experience children across America and around the globe are going through right now. You see, as I stated in the opener, this is not a political discussion. This is a child centered, trauma informed, research based conversation about how external forces are impacting learning, impacting mental health, family stability, and community trust. And with that being said, I know many of you right now are saying, well, Dr. RC, let's get to the meat of this. Can you go ahead and discuss what is happening or what's happening in schools, preferably? I'm so glad that you're thinking along those same lines because I'm happy to indulge and go into that conversation. You see, across educational systems, whether it's suburban, urban, rural, large, or small, educators are noticing the same patterns. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly and consistently everywhere. And yes, it is happening everywhere. Attendance dropping suddenly, not gradually, but suddenly. A child who was present yesterday is absent today, then tomorrow, and intermittently. This is what's actually happening and what we're witnessing. And then that same child does not return. Something is different. Students who once raised their hands now keep their eyes down. Children who were talkative become withdrawn. Others appear constantly on edge, startling at loud noises, watching doors, scanning rooms. These shifts are not random. Teachers are reporting that students are struggling to focus on lessons. They're struggling to focus on these lessons that they once understood. Assignments go unfinished. Instructions must be repeated. Memory falters, not because the child is incapable, but because fear competes for space in their brains. You see, educators also notice a few other things as well. Educators notice changes in how students regulate emotions. Some are small frustrations that lead to big reactions. Others may be tears appear without clear cause. Anger surfaces very quickly, or just concerning emotion disappears altogether. Families too often begin to pull back, or just as concerning emotion disappears altogether. Caregivers who were once attending conferences, who you saw quite often, stop coming. Phone calls that are being made are now being unanswered. Emails go unread as they bounce back to you. School events are avoided, not because families don't want to attend or they don't care, but because visibility is now risky. I want to share a little bit of research with you because, as you know, I like to bring that research piece in because anytime I bring information to you, I want you to know that I've taken the time to do the research along with my experience as well. Research helps us to understand what educators are actually witnessing. Godfrey study showed or shared that perceived threats to a family stability, not just actual disruption, is a powerful predicator of school disengagement, which equals chronic attendance or them not being present. In other words, children do not need to experience separation to be affected by it. I'm going to give you a bit more as we continue on, but it is time for a commercial break. Don't go away. Go get that coffee, water, or tea and return with me right after this commercial break. I'll be right back.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back, and good Saturday morning once again. My topic of discussion for this hour is when fear walks into the classroom. This is a conversation that is needed. I'm addressing some very concerning issues that are going on, or issue that is going on right now. And I'm going deeper into it as I go on. Right before the break, I was sharing with you what's going on in schools. Not just because Dr. RC said this, but because Research shares it. I'm bringing in my own experience as well as to what I see that is happening as well. And when you look across this country also. So with that being said, the fear of it is enough. You see, when fear enters a child's life, learning no longer sits at the center. And let me give that to you again. When fear enters a child's life, learning no longer sits at the center of it. The brain shifts priorities quite naturally because your mind is not focused totally on that. Instead of curiosity, the nervous system scans for danger. Instead of engagement, the body prepares for loss. Instead of learning, the child moves into survival mode. This is not a failure of motivation. This is not a lack of discipline. And it is not a reflection of a child's ability. No, it's definitely not. It is the predictability response of a developing brain trying to stay safe in an uncertain world. And schools, whether they realize it or not, are becoming the front line where this fear quietly shows up. Because when we really think about it and process it, our children spend more time at school than at home. And that's just the reality of it. Because education is the key. This is a moment in this moment in education, it's not abstract. It is deeply personal and specific to specific families. Let me say that. Many of whom are a part of our school communities every single day. These families are the families that are most impacted include these families. And I definitely want to hone in on that to give you even more of a center of the conversation. Immigrant and mixed families, where children may be citizens while parents or caregivers face constant uncertainty. Then we have our newcomers and recently arrived families who are still learning the language, systems, and supports while navigating fear instead of stability. Then our Black and our Brown immigrant families also, who experience compound racialized stress alongside immigration related fear. Indigenous and Afro Latina families, whose historical trauma intersects with present day uncertainty. Our low income and working class families as well, who have fewer buffers where fear disrupts employment, housing, or transportation. And then our families of English learners, where children often carry that emotional burden of translating adult stress. And then there are single parent households also. This is where the loss of absence or one caregiver destabilizes the entire family system. You see, families are connected to agriculture, construction, service, and caregiving industries as well, where visibility often feels unavoidable. Then it's our faith centered and tight knit cultural communities where fear spreads quickly through shared relationships. And most importantly, children who do not choose any of this. They did not choose any of this, but they are living with the consequences. These families are not statistics. They are caregivers at drop off. They are parents watching from a distance. They are children sitting in our classrooms, learning to read, write, and quietly brace for loss. Should that be the world that we are experiencing right now? I want you to ponder on that as I continue to go through. My conversation for this morning, or topic of discussion for this morning, is when fear walks into the classroom. I want you to just reflect on that while you're drinking that tea, that coffee, relaxing. Whether you're viewing in person or virtually through the screen, that's in person for us, or you're listening. I want you to breathe that in for a moment because this is actually what is taking place. Now, as I dive deeper into this conversation, as I said, I like to give you the research, but I want to give you some realities also. And what impacts this truly has on our children or is having, in current tense and past as well. It's the trauma, the mental health, and the development of their brains as well, because it's something that they cannot escape. So by saying that, I want to go a little deeper, I want to dive deeper by talking about the neuroscience, because the neuroscience is clear and it's about chronic fear, changes in our brains. You see, according to the Harvard Center on the Developing Child, prolonged stress without adequate buffering supports lead to toxic stress. Can you imagine being in elementary school or any grade level, but especially I'm speaking just right now for a second about our elementary school students, where you're just supposed to be going to school, running, playing, having a great time, because you're just getting that firsthand experience of entering what school is actually like. And these are the things that's waiting on your shoulders as a child that young. A condition that disrupts how the brain develops and functions. This is about that toxic stress, particularly in children, as I've just shared. Toxic stress interferes with the memory. And once again, I want to take you back to those first stages. But certainly this impacts all of our children. But just go with me for a moment at those beginning stages. That attention, emotional regulation, executive functioning. But then if we were to move up to our middle and high school children, the impact can be even more overwhelming, because the phases of development are there when they go through this process. Paired with studies show increased rates of anxiety and depression, sleep disturbances, somatic complaints like headaches, stomach aches, emotional shutdowns, or explosive behavior. This is not misbehavior. This is truly biology. It is time for another commercial break. I want to give you a bit more on that when we return. Don't go away. Yes, this is Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC. See you right after the break.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. Yeah, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back once again. Oh, yes, this is Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC. When fear enters the classroom. I know this is a deep conversation, but the purpose of it is to deliver some much needed information and give you food for thought also. I like to say, I put it in my own words in that way. Right before the break, I was sharing about the trauma, the mental health, as well as the developing brain. when a child experiences this. And when I say child, I'm just not speaking about elementary children. I'm speaking about elementary, middle, and high school students as well. So it's a combination of all together. Now, I want to widen that lens a bit because this doesn't happen in isolation. It does not. Imagine a student who once arrived at school smiling and curious and engaged. Over time, a teacher notices the child has grown quieter, more tired, less present. At home, caregivers are even or changing, making changes. Their voice tends to soften, routines have to be altered, sleep comes a little later. Even without words, children feel a shift. It is amazing how our children can feel or sense things without even knowing what the conversation is. They sense that tension. They absorb the unspoken message that something is not safe. The child's stress response system stays activated, not for minutes, but for days and weeks. The brain stops asking, what do I need to learn? And starts asking, what do I need to survive? Did you get that, guys? The brain, those red flags in the brain starts, what do I need to learn? Stops asking that. And instead, the question begins, what do I need to survive? In a community that ripples, spreads, families withdrawn from events, neighbors grow cautious. Silence just becomes a form of protection. This is collective trauma. When fear reshapes behavior across an entire community. And then inside the school, something important happens. As a school social worker, this is something that we take note of. Notices that there's a shift in a student's attendance or several students' attendance. Notices that they're coming in with teared eyes, sudden stomach aches, and multiple visits to the nurse. Instead of discipline, the response is curiosity. And instead of assumptions, the response is care. The school social worker meets with a child not to interrogate them. No, that is not the goal at all. The goal and the purpose is to listen, to create a moment of calm, because after all, that is going to be a place where they can have safe haven. Offering grounding restores a sense of safety as well during that time. The collaboration with the teacher to adjust expectations, quietly connect with the family without pressure, without demands, but just simply support. Coordinating with counselors, administrators, and community partners as well, because it's important to be able to stabilize what can be stabilized. But we have to gather that information first before we can make any moves or push forward with any steps to find possible solutions. Nothing dramatic happens, but something powerful does. Because merely by making those connections and answering those questions or asking those questions, comfort tends to set in. But with something powerful happening, the child nervous system begins to settle. Why? Because that child is realizing that someone has taken the time to pull them aside to ask one simple question: are you okay? And getting deeper into the situation as well. The classroom becomes a bit safer to them because they know that they have a trusted adult that they can go to or talk to aside from talking with their teacher, that they can come outside of the classroom and not have to look around, but just a space where they can get some resolve, just a little bit. The weight that that child is carrying becomes just a little bit lighter. This is about buffering support and what that looks like in real time. And when we see a child who can't focus or lashes out or shuts down, we must ask a different question, because the obvious is not always so obvious. Now, we're not going to go to what's wrong with this child, but what is this child's responding to, and who is helping them feel safe? Because we want them to feel safe when they come into our school buildings. Because you see, the nervous system is a survival mode, and you cannot fully assess learning, curiosity, or joy without that. This is not defiance. No, it is not. It is not about laziness either. No, this is the human brain doing exactly what it is designed to do. Once again, this is the human brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, trying to keep a child safe in a world that feels uncertain. When fear walks into the classroom, that is the topic of discussion for this hour. Listening, watching, I hope that you're taking your notes so that you can go back and research later, or doing some reflection as well as to what is actually occurring across the globe. Because what I'm sharing with you this morning is something that I know that is not unfamiliar, not unheard of, not far-fetched either. And I even brought some research with me to give you even more weight to the conversation that I'm sharing with you. I did share with you that this episode was going to be taking you deep inside the classrooms, the communities, just to explore how fear and uncertainty sets in, and loss as well, quietly within the educational experience, and how children across America and the world are experiencing this. That's enough for you to hold on to for this commercial break. Don't go away. I do have more to share. I'll be right back after this break.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Welcome back once again. Yes, this is Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC. This discussion this morning is a child-centered, trauma-informed, research-based conversation about external forces that are impacting a child's learning. It is impacting a child's mental health. It is impacting family stability and community trust as well. Now, with that being said, I want to dive into how it is impacting families and communities through grief, loss, as well as fear. You see, families living in constant uncertainty experience something called anticipatory grief. And let me say that again, anticipatory grief. What does that mean, Dr. RC? I'm so glad that you're thinking there. I see visually, virtually, I see those questions coming through. It simply means this: they are grieving a loss that has not happened yet, but feels possible every single day. Just imagine that for a second. You're grieving a loss that has not happened yet, but is still happening happening on a possibility every single day. Parents live in a constant state of alert. They listen more closely, more carefully, prepare for situations that they hope never come. Children notice all of it. Remember, I said that they are well in tune, paying attention or listening when they shouldn't be, but at times those listening ears are great. They read every shift in tone. They feel when routines change as well. They sense when adults are worried, even when no one explains why. But you see, as a result, home stopped being a place of rest. Instead, it becomes a place of preparation. Families prepare documents, they prepare instructions, they prepare children for the just in case. This kind of preparation is not driven by fear alone, but it is driven by love under pressure, but that love still takes a toll. It can do nothing but. And the impact doesn't stop at the front door because you are in a constant influx. A researcher by the name of Alexander shared, when fear spreads through a community, it's called collective trauma, a shared experience of stress that changes how people behave together. We begin to see things like trust between families, and institutions break down. Participation in schools, events, and services decline. Neighborhoods tend to pull back from one another. Silence replaces connections as a form of self-protection. And communities become quieter, not because people don't care, but because being seen feels unsafe. And let me say that again, because these are some things that you may oftentimes take first notice of. Communities become quieter, not because people don't care, but because being seen, it feels unsafe. But it's important to understand this. I want to share this with you. Loss is not always loud. No, it's not. It does not always arrive with sirens or goodbyes. Sometimes loss looks like waiting for a call, waiting for the news, waiting for the other shoe to drop, unfortunately. And children carry the waiting with them in their classrooms, in their relationships, their friendships, and more so into their sense of the world. Because although we may feel like, especially for our younger children, well, they haven't been here that long, but guess what? When you go through something like this, you feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. And those are some very little shoulders to have so much weight on. The preparation of waiting for the news or waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're looking at your parents or your guardians gather documents together. And at times informing you that if something were to happen to them, here is where those documents are. Or here is where you need to let someone else, a trusted adult, know where these documents are. Because the fear is that My parent or guardian may be gone, but I may be as well. And that is something that's disrupting our children in their learning environments. And that's why I wanted to title this topic this morning, When Fear Walks into the Classroom. Because I stated with for you earlier, our children spend more time in their classrooms or at school, especially if they have after school activities or participate in anything that's going on, a meeting, etc., all of those things, and that wraps all into one. Then the most of their day is spent at school. Even sometimes on the weekends, they have scheduled events. Once they get to that age where they're getting into that, these are the things that these are telltale signs, concerns that we're seeing right now, and want to give a response to it. That's why I talked about the trauma, the mental health, the grief, the loss. All of these things is what they're experiencing. But it's important to have understanding about that also, because there's so many misconceptions that go out there about why a family or a child may be withdrawn, why a child may be lashing out, why a child may be tearful. But it's about asking the right questions, just taking a breath and giving just a few moments, taking the time out, or guiding it to the individual who can ask the correct questions to get to the root of what's happening with them, because that is key. That is important. That is important. You see, these signs and changes in students' behavior, they are all too often at times brushed to the side or overlooked, but we don't want to do that. We want to be in tune with our students as they come in and experience what I'm sharing with you today. I'm going to let you hold on to that. It is time for another commercial break. Don't go away. I'll be right back with a little bit more.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back to Dare to Soar. And yes, I am your host, Dr. RC. Right before the break, I was about to go into the signs and changes in student behavior. I want to dive right into that with you this morning as I continue on with the topic for discussion and conversation and the dialogue that we are having. So what does it actually look like in real time at school? Well, for educators and schools and social workers, school social workers, the signs often show up in small but important ways, and they do. What we're seeing is increased separation anxiety, students struggling to say goodbye, lingering at the door at drop off, or becoming distressed when a caregiver leaves. Or we may see regression also in our younger children. Things like bedwetting, thumb sucking, baby talk, or needing constant reassurance. They're reverting back to those toddler or younger years. Then there's hypervigilance that can occur. Students startling or easily being startled, watching doors, reacting strongly to sudden noises. Then we are seeing also emotional numbing. And what that is that when a child who appears disconnected, flat, or checked out, they may be just kind of staring off into space, if you will, just to give you a bit more in-depth example. Irritability as well, sudden anger, big reactions to small frustrations. You see that overreaction, over response. It's not about the situation itself that has occurred. It's about what they're experiencing, what they are experiencing. And that's a lot to handle. Then you see the difficulty forming or maintaining peer relationships. They may begin to pull away from those friends that they once enjoyed being around or hanging out with, or becoming overly protective of themselves as well. These behaviors are often misunderstood, and they can be because we're all human. They are not signs of defiance, so I don't want anybody to take it that way either. But this is just a breakdown. They are not signs of disrespect, and they are not a lack of discipline. They are trauma responses to the body and the brain reacting to prolonged stress and uncertainty. I want to give you a brief example as I've shared this breakdown with you about the hypervigilance, the emotional, the irritability. But I want to go just a little bit deeper with you. Picture this: a student who used to walk into a classroom confidently now cries at morning drop off. Once inside the classroom, they tend to be a little restless, teacher may notice, or easily frustrated and unable to just focus. They just can't get a handle on things. Nothing about the classroom has changed at all. It's still the routine that they've had each and every morning going through the process. The teacher didn't change either. It's not a substitute. You have the same teacher also. The expectations didn't change either. Still, when you go in, information may be up or papers may be passed out for what your daily assignment is or your morning assignment is. Or you may get a message to say, okay, this is what the expectation is for the morning or for that class period. What changed was a child's sense of safety. Once again, what they're experiencing, that child's sense of safety. Remember, I said getting the documents prepared, the shift, all of those things are weighing in that mind. When we respond to that behavior with punishment, we send a message that fear is unacceptable. And we definitely don't want to do that. And that the only thing that we're looking at is just staying focused on that. And that only deepens that trauma. And we don't want to do that either. But you see, when we recognize what's really happening, we respond with patience. We respond with support and understanding. And we interrupt that cycle because we want to pull apart that cycle. We want them to know that your environment that you're in, this is your safe haven. This is a safe place for you. We help the child's nervous system to settle down. We create a space for safety. And only then does learning have a chance to return. And that is the goal, for that learning process to be able to return with that child. You see, it's about interrupting that cycle, pulling it apart, breaking it down. Where there was one line of focus, we want to step in there to let them know this is a safe place, a safe environment. There are trusted individuals within this environment that you can have the opportunity to communicate with, can talk to, and you don't have to feel in fear of that. while you're in this environment. We want to settle down those nervous systems. We want to let them know that we are here for you to give you support, because the learning that's being delivered, it is key. It is important. And we want them to be able to receive that. We want them to have a fighting chance to be able to return to that as much as they possibly can. Now, Dr. RC, are you saying this is going to remove everything that they're feeling? Absolutely not. Not at all. It's not going to remove everything that they're feeling, because these are human emotions. But if we as a team collaborating together can be there to support that, to pull apart that, to separate what they're feeling, to give them some reassurance, then we certainly want to be able to do that for them. Because these are important years, important times that once they're gone, they can never get them back. And that support, knowing that they're coming to a supportive environment, is going to be a key element for them. And that's what we want to give them. So with that being said, when we dive deeper and looking into this, looking at the role, as you all know, I am a school social worker, but looking at that role of the school social worker, but also not just that, looking at and taking part in collaboration, because it takes all of us working together to ensure that this safety occurs, that lines are broken. This is where school social workers become essential, because this is an area of our wheelhouse. When we talk about mental health, when we talk about trauma, when we talk about grief, when we talk about loss, this is what we do. This is a key part of what we do. And that's delivering that space, coming in and providing that consistency, that information. But before I dive right into that, it is time for another commercial break. And when I return, I'm going to be talking about that role of school social workers intertwined with collaboration, and collaboration, if you will. Be right back. Don't go away.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Welcome back to Dare to Soar with me, your host, Dr. RC. When fear walks into the classroom, that is the topic of discussion for this hour, or has been the topic of discussion for this hour. I am on the end for my closeout, so I want to go into the role of the school social work in collaboration. School social workers are just not support staff, and I want to be clear about that. Just not support staff. We are highly trained mental health professionals working inside schools specifically to address the emotional, social, and family factors that affect learning. The training includes, I could not resist giving this because I feel like this is something that constantly needs to be shared. Child development and adolescent development, trauma-informed care, mental health assessments and intervention, family systems, crisis response and stabilization, cultural humility and responsiveness, ethics, confidentiality, and student rights, community resources and systems. In real life, that means school social workers are trained to recognize trauma responses that may be mistaken for behavior problems, assess emotional and mental health needs in a school context, support families navigating fear, stress, and instability, protect student and families as well with the confidentiality, especially in sensitive situations, which this discussion is about. Coordinate cross care across schools, mental health providers, and community supports. Research is always sharing information with us on resilience, telling us something powerful. One consistent caring adult in a school system can significantly buffer or impact trauma. For many students, that adult is definitely their school social worker in schools. So I wanted to share that with you, but I also want to share, you see, together, these partnerships create safety. School social workers do not replace systems. We bridge them, translate, hold space, and help schools as well. Again, in times of uncertainty, that human connection is not optional, but it is definitely essential. So as I close out for you today, if fear can walk into a classroom, then compassion must meet there as well. Because children, no matter their language, their zip code, their country, we're never meant to carry this much from classrooms across the globe, communities here at home that have felt the most recently and most deepenly. This message is the same. Education cannot thrive where safety is uncertain, and silence cannot be our response to suffering. We can see. And this conversation, if this conversation stirred something for you, it was, and I hope that you're able to name it. What we've been witnessing, comment. If it reminded you why schools matter, stay tuned because or stay connected, because it's not the end of the conversation. No, no, no. It's the beginning of the conversation, seeing children clearly, not as problems, but managed as their lives be protected. Until next time, keep daring to soar, even when fear tries to ground us. And always remember to never be afraid to elevate to new heights as you spread your wings and dare to soar. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care. Stay safe.
This has been Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Come take a ride and soar to your highest level possible each week on Dr. RC's Dare to Soar.